2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's 9 after the hour. I'm Erick Erickson. This is Atlanta's Evening News on WSB. How are you? The phone number 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. John Ossoff. We found him, ladies and gentlemen. We have found John Ossoff. He's going to be leading a panel discussion at Nutroots Nation on Saturday, this coming Saturday, about winning the 2018 midterm elections. Oh! Yes, the man is totally qualified to talk about winning elections, is he not? Yes, John Ossoff going to tell the left how they can win something he's never done. I'm sure it'll be quite a success. Coming back from London to give a speech. Wonder if he'll see his fiancée. Okay, we'll move on. There's polling out today. And first of all, I want to say to begin with, it's a crap poll. And I don't, well, I say that lightly, but I also don't say it lightly. It's a crap poll. It is a poll of online participants to some sort of polling panel, which is nonsensical, a subsample of an online subsample to begin with. But it's got everybody buzzing today. A majority of Republicans would be okay with Donald Trump suspending the election in 2020 if there were voter irregularities that had not been fixed. But let's be honest. I bet a majority of Republicans do think that. What's not getting covered is that a majority of Democrats back in 2016 wanted Barack Obama to cancel the election. It's become so tribal in this country. That's why I think we can believe this are Republicans. Why else do I think we can believe this are Republicans? Well, a majority of Republicans right now, or 45% of Republicans, want the courts to shut down fake news outlets. If they're willing to do that, they're willing to sacrifice constitutional integrity, and it's a trend of what's going on in this country. Both sides have become so tribal, we're essentially moving in this country to where we've got to decide between right-wing authoritarianism and left-wing totalitarianism. And what's even more funny, I pointed that out earlier. Brian Stetzler of CNN quoted me on that on Twitter, and you got all these lefties coming in. How dare you say that? There's no such thing as left-wing totalitarianism. We're not nearly as terrible as you guys. Have you not been paying attention to college campuses? Have you not been paying attention to Barronelle Stutzman? Have you not been paying attention to Jack Phillips, the baker who's got to go to the Supreme Court to save his business because he didn't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding? Did you not pay attention to the Hobby Lobby case in the Supreme Court? Have you not paid attention to the abortion mandate? Have you not paid attention to the guy at Google getting fired for having wrongthink? Have you not paid attention to Brandon Ike, the CEO of Mozilla, who got driven out of his company for supporting traditional marriage? Yeah, don't tell me there's no such thing as left-wing totalitarianism. The difference between left-wing totalitarianism and right-wing totalitarianism is with the left, you either get on board the program or you be destroyed. With the right, they're just going to bulldoze through the protests and do whatever they want. Authoritarian and strongmen versus totalitarian despots who will round you up and re-educate you or kill you on the left. Or at least destroy your business and destroy your life in this country. But that's where we're headed. And we might as well not dance around this. There are enough Republicans who, if Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said, go start shooting liberals, there are Republicans who I think would do it. In the same way, there are liberals who, if the left came out, Barack Obama or someone, Hillary Clinton, and said, go start shooting Republicans, they would try. Of course, they would have to get guns first. But we've reached that level of tribalism in this country where both sides have incentive to commit violence on the other side, and neither side really gives a damn about the Constitution anymore. You should care about the Constitution. You should be one of those crazy fools like me who thinks that it doesn't matter who's in charge, the Constitution applies. But there is hilarious irony here we should get into after we go check traffic with Doug Turnbull.
got all sorts of irony I can tell you about, Eric. At 614, WSB will stick to traffic right now because 285 southbound the outer loop finally. It's still a gridlock alert, but all lanes have just reopened at South Cobb Drive, exit number 15. I've just updated this incident in our Triple T Traffic Alerts app, which you can download now. And if you get anywhere near this crash, really anywhere through Sandy Springs, you'll actually hear this incident play if you're driving on 285 westbound and hear what we have to say. But again, all lanes have reopened there at South Cobb. Major gridlock there. The interloop ride is ridiculous. 285 east and southbound, about an hour and a half to go from 75 at Cobb around to Memorial traffic to Cab County, made worse by that long-lasting trouble that's just cleared. 85 north at Steve Reynolds. We'll tell you about those 400 delays at Sandy Springs next, Eric.
Thank you, sir. Here's the irony. In 2015 and 2016, on this very program, we fielded dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of phone calls from people. Hundreds of phone calls from people who were convinced Barack Obama was going to seek a third term. He was going to stay in power. He was not going to give up power. He was going to stay there. I can't tell you how many people called Republicans concerned that Barack Obama was going to do this. The same thing liberals thought in 2000 when they were convinced Dick Cheney was never going to move out of the vice presidential mansion. They were very convinced that George W. Bush was never going to give up the White House to Barack Obama. We had people call this program every single week in the run-up to the election that Barack Obama was not going to surrender power if Donald Trump got elected. And now some of those people absolutely, positively would be okay with Donald Trump suspending the election. Yes, I said it. It's a crap poll. You can't believe online polling, particularly subsamples of online polling. But you know and I know there are plenty of Republicans who believe this because I encounter them all the time. A real pollster is going to ask this question and find the same result. I don't like online polling, but I'm not dismissing this result because I know a real world pollster is going to pull this out. PPP is going to go out and find Republicans to say this. I guarantee you there are Republicans who believe this. There are Republicans who believe the president can do whatever he wants. There are Republicans who believe the president can ignore Congress. There are Republicans who believe all of these things that Democrats believed when Barack Obama was in power and now no longer do. It has become a tribalism in this country that has infected our very democracy. Our Republican democracy cannot sustain itself when both sides believe that they can ignore the rules when in power. And the Democrats did it, and now they're playing all holier than thou pure. We would never do this. Baloney. Barronelle Stutzman is losing her business in Washington State, potentially her house and her retirement, because she did not want to provide flowers for a same-sex wedding. Jack Phillips in Colorado, the same way. He's having to go to the Supreme Court to try to save his business because he didn't want to provide a cake for a same-sex wedding. Let's not forget Memory's Pizza in Indiana that was nearly put out of business and had to shut down for multiple days because they would not have hosted a gay wedding. Not that anyone had ever asked them. Don't tell me the left is not totalitarian. On college campuses, there's a systematic purging of conservatives on college campuses. Conservative professors aren't being given tenure. Conservative students being silenced. We see it in Georgia. We've seen it at UGA. We've seen it at Georgia Tech. You've seen it around the country. Don't deny the totalitarian instincts of totalitarianism comes from the left. Nazism, communism, they're all left-wing ideologies. Yes, Nazism is a left-wing ideology. They're all totalitarians, and you do see authoritarianism rise on the right. But you know, the authoritarians on the right, at least you get to live. You don't get round up and put in a concentration camp. It's still not good, though. You should not be defending heavy-handedness on the right. You should not be defending strong men on the right. We should all be defending our Constitution, but every day that goes on, our constitutional system becomes more and more fragile and gets weaker because both sides look at the other side and see the enemy, not political opponent. Neither side is capable of having a conversation with the other side. Neither side is able to recognize its own size flaws anymore. Both sides do have problems. Both sides at this point have intellectual weakness. But it's us versus them in this day and age. You're not allowed to actually be an independent thinker. You're not allowed to say, you know, this is wrong even though it's my side. You're not allowed to do that. When I point out that about the president's done something he shouldn't do, we get overwhelmed with phone calls. You've just never gotten over the election, you never Trumper. When I defend the president, we get overwhelmed with phone calls from liberals. I used to think he was a good guy, but he's sold out. It could possibly be that I and others actually think for ourselves, and we're not going to swim with the salmon up the stream. We're going to go in our own direction. And we're going to be guided by something we should all be guided by, called the Constitution of the United States of America. Some things you may want to do, but they are unconstitutional. And that the left and the right these days no longer really appreciate that, no longer really look at it that way, that is a huge problem. That either side would wish to suspend an election is a huge problem. And for all you uppity liberals out there who think this is just a right-wing thing in polling, no. Last year, it was a majority of the left willing to do it. So don't get all sanctimonious over it right now. You should all be ashamed.
News, analysis, and conviction. Atlanta's Evening News with Erick Erickson. Sponsored by Comcast Business on WSB.